Let me jump into the topic. My mother came down to visit last weekend, and as usual, anytime my mother is around, or my father lately, we they jump into these conversations because of about me and dating. So for those of you all who do not know, I am divorced. I was married for 10 years, and I'm divorced. And so since then, my mother and father have been on this. Well, not since then, but maybe the past year or so, and my sister a little bit too, have been on this thing where now they're concerned that I'm not dating anybody, and because I made the conscious choice not to, and some of it was brought on by things that I've experienced, but the majority of it was brought on because, in all honesty, as a man, I believe that there are certain things that need to be established in your life before you are in a position, a man or a woman, let me say this, before you're in a position to begin dating. But as a man, I definitely think there are some added things that need to be there because we have a sense of responsibility. Again, in my opinion, we have a sense of responsibility to the relationship and to the persons who we are in a relationship with, both financially, emotionally, spiritually, and in some other areas too. And so I made the decision. I wasn't ready for that, and I wasn't interested. So I titled this relationship status because oftentimes and lately have been seeing a lot of people who have been single and are concerned about this, and are concerned about why their relationship status is the way it is, and are not willing to really want to change it, but are not interested in really doing the things that are necessary to see any changes in this area or in any area of our lives. So that's why I titled this relationship status. Here it is, guys. Whether you are married or single, whether you're divorced or widowed, whatever your relationship status is, there's always work that needs to be done. You have to know within yourself that there is a wholeness and a peace about whatever season of life that you're in. And if you are not or don't have a level of peace about where you are in your life, then you have to work to get into that place of peace, because you can't expect to bring someone into your life. You can't expect to bring for someone else to come into your life and bring you peace, or to bring you happiness, or to bring you wholeness or completeness. Now, when I say that, I partially disagree with my own last statement, because there is a level. When I say completeness, I mean completeness as an individual. There are parts of you that are incomplete, and that will not be complete until you are married. So let me be clear, because I do believe that the reason that God gives us a partner is because there are certain things, certain skill sets, certain things that we are not good at, that our partner will complement or complete us on. But when I say complete in this sense, I am saying that as an individual, you are a whole person who is of sound mind, who is of sound body, who is stable emotionally, who is stable mentally, and is okay with wherever they are. Again, when I say okay, I don't mean you're to the point where, because I see a lot of people that are like, oh, if I never get married, I'm okay. You're lying. It's like, no, you're really not okay with that. You just have settled for that because you believe that at this point you're not going to find anybody. And that's completely different than I believe that God has called me, or that in my life I was born to be single. If you believe that, again, that's totally different. But most of us have decided have decided no good and well that we want to be in a relationship, but at the same time are not willing to be honest with ourselves that, listen, the reason that I am not in a relationship is because there is a level of dysfunction in my life that is not healthy for me to bring in another individual. I'm going to say it again. Most of us will not be honest enough with ourselves to say that there is a level of dysfunction in our lives that I am not prepared, or I have not healed, or I have not done the work, I have not disciplined enough to fix or change, or begin to fix or change, And so because of that reason, that is why I'm single. And when we do that, when we get to the point where we are willing to be honest with ourselves, where we're willing to be open with ourselves, enough about where we are as people, as individuals, as broken people, as people who have been hurt, as people who have been wounded, then we can begin to strip away some of the facades that a lot of us wear. Hear me well. Most of us, and I'm not, again, this is not. This does sound harsh because sometimes as we grew up, my mother used to give us castor oil, and it tasted really terrible going down, but it surely felt good after that processed through our system and all of the other stuff. So this is our castor oil, okay? So some of us are too busy trying to pretend that we are whole and that we are together. Some of us are too busy trying to make it appear as though we know everything instead of being willing enough to say, listen, I really don't know anything. I just know that I don't like the current state that I'm in, that I want my life to be better, that the things that I have done could possibly not be working, and I need to figure out what it is that I need to do better. And so that is, for me, I'll be honest, that for me was an admission that I had to make a while ago that made me say, let me slow down long enough to really take an introspective look to find out what's going on inside of me, that I could heal, that I could find that I could find what was going on inside of my heart, inside of my soul, inside of my spirit, that kept putting me in the same position. Here is how you know if something is wrong. Do you ever find yourself attracting, even though you're dating different people, but you always attract the same person or the same personality? Do your relationships ever always kind of seem to have the same pattern in them? Do you usually, even if you do something totally different, like you break up with somebody or you end a relationship or a marriage and you're like, you know what, I'm just using this fictitiously, I'm never going to date a tall guy again. I'm just going to date, short guys. And then you get the short guy and he's just like the tall guy. Things like that. That is because there is something that is broken in you. There is something that is wounded in you could be in the secret crevices of your heart that has not been dealt with. And until you are able to find out what that is, you won't be able to move forward in your life. Your life will continue to revolve around this same dysfunction or this same circumstance, because you've got to break it in order to move forward to the next phase of your life. So your relationship status, and here's another interesting tidbit as I kind of process through this. This is also the same thing that happens in our careers. This is the same thing that happens in our friend relationships. This is the same that happens in our familial relationships. You'll notice that that these same cycles and these same patterns are prevalent through every type of relationship we have, because it is really some things in us that need to be dealt with. There are some things that are in our hearts that have not been healed. There are some things that might have happened to us that we have not properly gotten past, and because of that, now we have kind of gotten used to walking, as they say, walking with us. I get really, well, that's nice. So I think that what we've got to figure out again is, we've got to figure out, number one, what those things are, and then be honest enough for self to heal. So, all right, Winfred Burns, you said all of that, and that sounds cute. That sounds really good. But how do I heal? How do I get past this? How do I move beyond this? Because I'm ready to confront this. I realize that my relationships are not good. I realize that my friendships are not healthy. I realize that, that all of this is going on. So what do I do, and how do I move forward? Well, I am so glad that you asked that question. I know I read your mind, because I know most of you were going to ask that question. So here's a couple of thoughts I want to throw at you to help you think through some of this process. The first thing I need you to think through is I need you to be very serious and very honest about identifying what happened to you. And let me pre-warn you that when you begin to do this, when you begin to process thought and deep soulish, soul searching type work. It is a painful experience initially. There are going to be a lot of painful moments, because I think what you're going to find is that your mind is the ultimate supercomputer, and everything that has ever happened to you will begin to come up. And it's not just the fact that what makes the mind so powerful and so strong is that as you remember what happened, you also will remember how it smelled. You will remember how it felt. You will remember what you were thinking at the time, what you were wearing, what you were doing, and because when that happens, your body at certain times will begin to replay that traumatic situation and that traumatic incident that happened in your life. And so I want you to be careful of that, because that's going to happen. And so I don't want that to scare you, but I want you to know that that's what's coming. And when that does come, that is an opportunity for you again to reprocess what happened, and then systematically begin to, number one, forgive everyone who did things, who offended you. And then begin to, like I said, understand there's something I'm sorry, I don't know, what do you mean by there's something you're surging? But just make sure, again, that you begin the process, and then you begin to forgive, because when you go through this, it is going to, like I said, it's going to cause a lot of things to happen. Here's an example. Now, have you guys ever, this is the closest example I can give to, if you've never experienced this. There are certain movies that I know that I cannot watch. For example, there's a movie called Mississippi Burning. And anytime I watch Mississippi Burning, though I was not in Mississippi when this happened, I was not present I didn't grow up in a time when racism was as, I wasn't getting beat by dogs. I wasn't getting, that kind of stuff. That's never happened to me. But I have been in communities and areas where, where my family was the only African American family. There was racism there, et cetera, et cetera. But anytime I see a movie like that, this supercomputer of mine goes back to every moment that I have been overtly and called the name, the N word, and it's been used at me in that way. And I can relive, and I immediately get angry. I immediately get, my body just like shuts down. Well, not shuts down, but like I go into this like Hulk rage where I just want to like hurt somebody and certain thing, because that thought triggers everything and every person who has ever offended me in that area. And again, so now then you have to go back and start forgiving them. You got to start, dealing with that and not allowing and making sure that you understand that those things that happened to you were a part of how you got to where you got to. That's the point of it. Is I became this way, or this happened to me, and so this is why I started doing this unhealthy, dysfunctional thing. This happened to me, and so this is why I don't trust men, because I was sexually assaulted. My father said this to me, and because he said this to me, I decided in my mind I was going to prove him wrong, and so that is why this is so important to me, when it's really probably shouldn't be. My mother did this to me, or was not present for this part of my life, and so because she was not present for this part of my life, this is why I treat my children the way I do. And so then once you're able to do that and come to peace with that, then and to forgive those people, then your relationships with those people improves, and then your relationships with other people begin to improve. What you are literally doing, let me say this, if you are a Bible person, what you are literally doing, the Bible talks about that you are dealing with what's called strongholds and principalities. And the Bible is very clear that it talks about that we should take authority over those things, and that we have to bring down every thought or anything that exalts itself against the knowledge of Christ. So what you are literally doing is you are finding something that you have exalted to a position that it was not supposed to be in. You are bringing it down. You're bringing it back down to the place that it belongs, and then you are able, and when you do that, you are not giving it a place above God, a place above your health, a place above your family, a place above anything else. And then you are able to trust again. You are able to begin to love again. You're able to feel again. You're able to begin to open yourself for the possibilities of things that before you might not have thought would have ever happened again. So you've just got to, again, just begin to think about those things, allow yourself to go back to those places, and open yourself up to that. The other thing that you need to do, another thing that you can do is you've got to really begin to surround yourself with individuals who you know care about you. A lot of the people who we have, and when I say care about you, I'm talking about care about the whole you, not about a part of you. Not the, superwoman, supermom you, but the entire you. Not, not the businessman you, but the you that is insecure and not sure. The you that is at times very shallow and goofy, not the person who's always paying for everything in your group of friends, not the person who, you want to find people who really care about you. Because when in this moment, in this season, in this time, as you begin to redevelop who you are, you need people who will be accountable to you, for you, who will be accountable to you, who will tell you truths about yourself, who will let you have a bad moment or bad moments and still love you in the process of doing it, who you can come to them and tell them, hey, you know what? I'm just having a bad day and I just need somebody just to sit here and listen for a second. I ain't gonna say nothing, but just sit here, listen to my silence. You need people in your life like that. And if you are a man, you need people who understand that the way that we sometimes process our pain looks a little bit different than it does for women. Most men do not verbally articulate how we are feeling internally. Most men, when we have those types of things, we do things like, we have to do other things to help get that out. So you need to be around people who are able to say, listen, this is just, this is how I'm on, who you might be able to do whatever it is. Like, I just got to do this. Let me go ahead. Let me just, de-stress for a second this way, healthy way, by the way. And we going to be cool again. And I can go back to being, I tell people all the time, I have a saying, I said, listen, today you're not talking to Pastor Burns. Today you're talking to WB, and I'm gonna be WB for a couple hours, and then I'll be Pastor Burns again later. So just leave me alone, and don't ask me no Bible questions, because right now I'm not feeling it. Right now I ain't got a cute scripture. I don't have a prophetic word. Right now I just need to be WB for about 3 hours, and then I could be that Superman again. You need people who do that for you and who allow you the space to do that, so you can get better. And when you are able to do that, after you process all of this, after you're able to do that, after you are ready, after you are sure, after you know once again who you are and where you're going, after you have all of this cool new stuff that you know about yourself, then at that point, that's when you can begin to think about how to improving your relationships or changing your relationship status. So just a thought. I just wanted to throw that out there tonight. That's about it. That's all I got. I just wanted to, again, like I said, just really encourage you guys. Listen, don't be concerned. Don't be worried if you are not. If you are single, don't be concerned. Don't be worried. If you're, where you are in your marriage is might not where you want it to be. All of these things can change, but you got to be willing to do the work. You've got to be willing to be honest and real about where you are as a person and where you want to go as a person as well, because ultimately shifts happen, people change, people grow, people get better, all that kind of cool stuff. But at the same time, it doesn't make it any easier. It doesn't make it any easier to literally transform from a person who has known you for 20 some odd years, and now you're going to try to introduce them to somebody else. So it's not difficult, it's not hard, but it definitely can happen. So all right.